Vanderbilt was one of the biggest surprises in all of college football last year. Their preseason win total was set at 2.5. They faced the fourth toughest schedule in the SEC. It looked like it was going to be another rough year for the Commodores, but all they did was go 7-6, winning their bowl game over Georgia Tech to clinch their first winning season since 2013. Unbelievable year, unbelievable job by Clark Lee. And just listen to the roller coaster of a season that they had. They started 2-0 with an upset win over Virginia Tech in the opener, but then found a way to lose to Georgia State by 4 points. They then lost in double overtime to Missouri, a game they really should have won. Then maybe pulled off the upset of the year, defeating number 1 Alabama 40-35 in Nashville. Their first win over a top 5 program in program history. They got up to 5-2, found themselves ranked in the top 25 for the first time since 2013, found a way to beat Auburn, meaning they beat Alabama and Auburn in the same season for the first time in 69 years, and then, of course, beat Georgia Tech in their bowl game. 7-6 for the Commodores, and it could have been a lot better. They had 4 one-possession losses. They lost to Georgia State by 4. They lost to Missouri by 3 in double overtime. They lost to Texas by 3 and lost to LSU by 7. So not only did Vanderbilt have a historic season and pull off a monumental upset over number 1 Alabama, they were actually very competitive in the SEC. And they're looking to do the exact same thing now in 2025 with one of the most experienced teams in the country. 9 starters are back on offense for Vanderbilt this year, led by none other than Diego Pavia, who I think for many has become one of the fan favorites across the country. One of the fan favorite players across the country among college football fans. He has done a phenomenal job throughout his career at New Mexico State, now at Vanderbilt. Over 2,200 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions last year. Also led the team in rushing with 801 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. So an unbelievable year for him. Unbelievable year for this Vanderbilt offense. They averaged over 27 points per game, which was their highest since 2018, which was also the last year they made a bowl game. They do return Cedric Alexander at running back, rushed for over 580 yards and 6 touchdowns. Their top pass catcher, tight end Eli Stowers, returns, along with Junior Sherrill at wide receiver. They do lose 4 on the offensive line, but have been quickly replaced with elite talent and starters from other programs. Starters from teams like South Dakota, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and Liberty. So this is a loaded Vanderbilt team with a lot of veteran experience looking to build on what was a very successful offensive season. Defensively, 8 starters are back after giving up just 23.4 points per game. That's it. We knew Clark Lee was a defensive-minded guy, and that finally came to fruition in 2024. Finally panned out. Less than 24 points per game, 376 yards per game. They now return 4 of their top 5 tacklers from last year, including their leading tackler, Brian Longwell. He's paired with Langston Patterson in the linebacking corps, so a very good linebacking duo there. You've got your sack leader, Nick Rinaldi, returning. He had 6 sacks in 2024. You got Randon Fontenette leading the secondary. Very good player back there, along with Martell Height. The key, more than anything for Vanderbilt this year, is stopping the run. Listen to these numbers. They had 6 losses last year, 7-6. In those 6 losses, they allowed at least 139 rushing yards in 5 of them. So 5 of their 6 losses, they allowed at least 139 rushing yards. In 5 of their 7 wins, they held their opponent to under 100 rushing yards. So the season could go how the rushing defense goes for Vanderbilt. That will be the storyline to watch as we enter this season. Take a look at the schedule for the Commodores. It's tough. Again, that's life in the SEC. And they obviously greatly exceeded expectations. Really, no one saw them beating Auburn on the road. No one saw them beating Alabama. No one saw them beating Virginia Tech. Even Kentucky, after they beat Alabama, Vanderbilt was still a 12.5-point underdog at Kentucky, and they found a way to win that one. So now you have to wonder, last year was not a fluke by any means, but will they be able to replicate that type of success against a lot of the same opponents? They start the year off with a win over Charleston Southern, then go on the road to Virginia Tech, who they beat 34-27 in overtime last year. But now, you can argue Virginia Tech's going to be a little bit better. Granted, that was the season opener. They hadn't really been unhealthy at that point. We didn't know much of Virginia Tech. We thought they were going to be pretty good last year in ACC Sleeper, and it was right then and there when they lost to Vanderbilt, we knew that wasn't going to be the case. But I do worry about Vanderbilt now in this electric of an environment. We know Blacksburg is not an easy place to play. Kyron Drones, back at quarterback, should be fully healthy now after an up-and-down season in 2024. Terrion Stewart is an underrated pickup at running back from Bowling Green. I do worry about that. A dual-threat quarterback, a very good running back, a solid offensive line, How are they going to fare, or how is Vanderbilt's rushing defense going to fare on the road against this good of an offense? 7 starters back for the Hokies on defense. 7 starters back, and I think they're going to find a way to shut down Diego Pavia. They allowed 181 rushing yards to Vanderbilt last year. They don't let that happen again now on their home turf. This is a big win for both of these programs, big game for both these programs, but I lean towards Virginia Tech getting revenge at home. Vandy is 1-1, and let's make them 1-2 with a loss on the road to South Carolina, a team that is going to be very talented, led by a potential Heisman Trophy contender in Lenora Sellers at quarterback. Carolina rolled up into Nashville, beat them 28-7 last year, put 214 rushing yards on the Commodores. I really don't expect Vanderbilt to go over and return the favor now in Columbia. So they're 1-2, but we're going to make them 3-2 with back-to-back wins over Georgia State. Revenge game. Not very often you say that with a team like Georgia State, but they get revenge over Georgia State, and they'll beat Utah State. So Vandy is 3-2 heading into the bulk of conference play. And how fitting that the first true conference game of this stretch. I know they've already played South Carolina, but the bulk of conference play begins with a road game at Alabama. We talked about it a second ago. Vandy pulled off, I think, the upset of the year. Nearly 24-point underdogs facing the number 1 team in the country. Bama had just defeated Georgia in that potential game of the year. No one gave Vanderbilt a shot in that game, but the Commodores came out firing at all cylinders, were wreaking havoc on Jalen Milroe, had a big pick 6 in there. They dominated the time of possession, held the ball for over 42 minutes in that game. And if Vanderbilt wants to find a way to pull off back-to-back wins over Alabama, maybe even shock the nation more now by winning in Tuscaloosa, they're going to have to do the exact same thing. They're going to have to find a way to create turnovers. They're going to have to find a way to hold on to the ball for a long, long time and keep that offense off the field. But when they do hold on to the ball, they're going to have to find a way to convert. Look, I don't think Vanderbilt's going to win this game. I don't think Lightning's going to strike twice. This is a revenge game for Alabama. I think they're going to come into this game angry. Kalen DeBoer will not allow himself to lose this game. Not in Tuscaloosa. Not with this good of an Alabama defense. Not with the fact that Vanderbilt's not going to have the same amount of luck they had last year. Again, I'm not saying they were lucky to win. They were the better team, but I don't think they're going to force as many turnovers off of Alabama. I don't think they're going to have as many big offensive plays that they had last year, like that 4th-and-1 pass for a touchdown. Vandy falls to Alabama. They're 3-3 at the halfway point of the year. They come out of the bye week. They host LSU, who they only lost to by 7 last year, but they were torched in the secondary for 332 passing yards by Garrett Nussmeier. Now, his LSU team is arguably better than they were last year. Nussmeier's back for another year. He's got some serious weapons at wide receiver, and this LSU defense returns 8 starters with loads of talent at all 3 levels. I mean, there's really not any glaring weaknesses on LSU's defense right now. Even though they're coming off a bye, even though it's at home, I don't think Vanderbilt has enough to beat LSU. Would be another massive upset if they could pull it off. Just don't see it happening. They have not defeated LSU since 1990, and that streak will continue. They stay at home and take on Missouri. A game they should have won last year, let's be honest. They really should have won last year. They found themselves leading in overtime, 27-20, allowed the touchdown. They go to double overtime, and Vandy's kick to send it to a third overtime. What was it, wide right? I think it was slightly wide right, and they lose that game 30-27 in double overtime. Missouri missed 3 field goals in that game. Vanderbilt couldn't take advantage of it, and they found a way to lose. I think they win it now. I do. Look, Vanderbilt's not a tough place to play. They don't own a significant offensive advantage by any means, but Missouri loses quite a bit. They lose their star quarterback in Brady Cook. They lose Luther Burden. They lose some big-time rushers. And while they did go out and replace plenty of those guys to the transfer portal, I think Bo Perbillo's going to do just fine. I think that Missouri defense is really, really good. I think this Vandy offense is clearly capable of putting some points on the Tigers. I think this Vanderbilt team at 3-4, people look at that and go, oh, they're not that good, is going to be better than their record shows. Because, I mean, they've lost to South Carolina, Alabama, and LSU, and then a road game at Virginia Tech. They're better than that record shows. I think Missouri kind of comes in limping a little bit. They find a way to get this win. The Tigers coming in after back-to-back games against Alabama and Auburn. Vandy desperate for a win. They take care of business. Bit of a revenge game for them, too, if you want to call it that. They're 4-4, needing just 2 more wins to go bowling for a second year in a row. They're not going to get one of those wins on the road in Texas. Their first trip to Texas since 1903. First time they've played the Longhorns in Austin since 1903. Don't really give them much of a shot. Last year they held their own. They lost to Texas by 3. Don't think it's going to be the case this year. This Texas team is the real deal. Arch Manning's the real deal. The offensive line has some questions. I'm not sure the Vanderbilt defensive line can exploit that. And I'm not sure that they're going to be able to stop Arch Manning's passing attack in the secondary. Factor in how good this Texas defense is, one of the best in the nation, better than they were last year. Not sure Diego Pavia is going to be able to have himself a day, especially on the road. They lose. They come back home. They take on Auburn. That's a winnable game. They beat the Tigers 17-7 last year. It was just a defensive slugfest. Both of the running games struggled mightily, but the Vanderbilt defense came through and did their job. They also, at least Diego Pavia does, has Hugh Freeze's number. Pavia has defeated Hugh Freeze 3 years in a row. Beat him as the quarterback at New Mexico State when Hugh Freeze was at Liberty. Then beat him with New Mexico State again when Hugh Freeze was at Auburn. Then beat him last year with Vanderbilt. So he's got their number. But I think that streak comes to an end now. A major reason for Auburn's struggles last year was their offense. In theory, the offense will be significantly better now. Jackson Arnold, a very, very good core of wide receivers, underrated running game, strong offensive line. Auburn, on paper, is much, much better than what we saw last year. And their defense was not the issue in 2024. Factor all of that in, plus a little bit of a revenge factor. Maybe, Hugh Freeze knowing, hey, I got to win this game. I can't let Diego Pavia go unbeaten against me in his collegiate career. Auburn gets the win. They're 4-6. Coming out of the bye, they will beat Kentucky, 5-6. Do not have a lot of faith in the Wildcats this year. Vanderbilt, again, proved that the Alabama win wasn't a fluke. They beat Bama. They play Kentucky. They're nearly 2-touchdown underdogs. They win that game 20-13 last year on the road. Now they get them at home on senior day. So a very big game for Diego Pavia and this team, that very veteran team. I just don't have a lot of faith in Kentucky. I'm not sure Zach Calzada is going to pan out that great at quarterback. Their defense looks solid, but is it going to be enough to beat Vandy for a full 60 minutes, to hang with Vandy for a full 60 minutes? Again, Vanderbilt coming into this game, despite only having 4 wins, is going to be better than that record shows. I still think they're going to be very competitive. They do deliver with a win. They're 5-6, meaning if they beat Tennessee, they go bowling. If they lose, they fall just short. Unless there's a shortage. Vanderbilt, I imagine, would be pretty high up there on the APR ratings. So maybe they get lucky and get into a bowl if they lose at 5-7. They played Tennessee. They have not defeated Tennessee in Knoxville since 2017. They've lost 6 straight games to the Volunteers. Last year, it looked like they might pull off a win. They led 14-0. They were up 17-7. And then ultimately lost 36-23. So the offense really went cold. Tennessee really woke up. Yes, the Volunteers have a lot of questions. How well will the offense pan out now that Nico Iamaleava is gone? What is that going to look like for Tennessee throughout the year? But by the end of the season, I think Josh Heupel has worked out any minor offensive issues they have. This Tennessee defense is going to be one of the best in the conference. They are loaded on that side of the ball, will be the strength of the team. Their running defense is going to be solid. Their running game going to be solid for Tennessee. I think the running game is really going to be better than people realize with Deshaun Bishop. On the road in Knoxville, I don't think Vanderbilt has enough, meaning we have the Commodores going 5-7 after that very historic 7-6 season last year. And really, that's not that big of a step back, right? I mean, you imagine 5-7, yeah, doesn't get you to a bowl game or anything like that. But a couple of years ago, saying Vanderbilt could go 5-7 with 2 conference wins was pretty much unheard of, right? I mean, Clark Lead really defied the odds last year by getting the Commodores to 6-6, winning that bowl game to get them a 7-win season in their first winning season since 2013. You look at the schedule now, we've got them at 5-7. Maybe you think they can beat Auburn at home. Maybe you think they can beat Virginia Tech on the road. Those are the only 2 games that I think Vanderbilt could maybe flip from a loss to a win. The only 2. Really don't see them beating any of the other SEC elites, especially on the road. Those are the only ones I could think of. And that's also assuming they beat Missouri. That's a toss-up game there as well. So they would have to still beat Missouri, still have to beat Kentucky, and then find a way to flip one of those losses. I just don't think a bowl game is in the cards for them, but they will remain competitive. They will be fun to watch. They will rack up some wins. 5-7, again, pretty good considering how much they struggled prior to last year. But unfortunately, falling just short, and Diego Pavia in his final collegiate season will not make the postseason. I think that will hurt for all college football fans out there. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. 5-7 for the Vanderbilt Commodores. Leave your comments and predictions down below. Let us know what you think. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share the videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to those expert picks, home to our weekly newsletters, home to tons of exclusive content there to help you get through this offseason, and content you're not going to want to miss once the regular season starts. Again, check it out. The link for it down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.